Welcome to the review discussion for Slow Claps.
From Slow Clap Games, published by Devolver Digital. I'm joined today by Kieran Marchant.
Open world-ish, I don't really know. How would you describe this game, Tom? What is Absolver?
It's addictive, but it's fundamentally not for me.
Explain.
Oh, so
because you're playing a lot.
What is Absolver? So, I think it is a melee combat sort of fighting game, and you're in like a small open world, fighting AI shared with some
world.
real people as well.
If you play online.
Yeah, if you play online, if you so desire.
We played it together on stream.
Yeah, for a little bit.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Absolver?
It's an interesting game and an interesting concept. I don't think there's anything quite like it. In games, there's games where you can pull comparisons from, but I think as a whole package, I think it's very individual, and it is very much finding its feet in the gaming landscape currently.
Yeah, it feels like, I've never played one, but it feels like that Dark Souls, Bloodborne sort of genre game.
Well, in all of my 3.5 hours of playing Bloodborne,
You can find on Explosion Network
yeah, it was, I've played it there.
on the VOD.
I can see the similarities, as well as watching a lot of Dark Souls content. I can see the similarities, but at the same time, I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed those games.
No.
It's a tricky one to sort of put in a category. I don't think it's in like much that I've really ever played before.
No, because it's definitely a fighting game. They're selling it as a fighting game. However, when you try and explain it to people, and I think I was listening to Podcast Beyond yesterday or the day before, and someone was trying to explain on that, and they were like, oh, so when you run into enemies, like it changes into like a Tekken or Street Fighter or something, like it goes, like the usual thing. And they're like, no, like it's like you just start fighting, but it's got all the mechanics and depth of a proper fighting game, I guess, but it doesn't like do a little bit of Pokemon music, swing the camera around, you're side by side, all of a sudden fighting. And then, of course, the other thing people mostly have been comparing it to is like a Souls game universe or something like that, because the whole shared world kind of thing, the direness, you kind of just wandering around a world, there's barely any story, the stats and stuff like that are all very Dark Souls or Souls universe like, and there is some kind of mechanic where if you die you lose XP or so, I don't know, it's really not explained very well at all.
Yeah, it's not well explained, but if like when you're fighting either AI or other people that are in this shared world, if you block or like parry the attack that they are trying to hit you with, you learn it, or you learn a small fraction of it, and the more times you block or parry that attack, you learn it more and more and more and more and more until you've mastered it and you can use it yourself, which is why I say it's addictive. Like it is a really cool system, and
they don't explain it well.
They do not explain it at all.
Yep, I didn't know about it until you told me after the first night of playing. So
yeah, well, I didn't know about it until I read it online.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like the first maybe 4 or 5 hours or something really got me, and I really enjoyed it. It's like difficult fighting game. You've actually got to not just hammer square. I learned that you're supposed to hit square to attack when your character flashes yellow. Like the perfect time to attack means it's going to be the fastest and the most powerful, but if you're just furiously slamming square, you're using far more stamina than you need and all that sort of stuff, and the attacks don't time particularly well. But yeah, the first sort of 4 or 5 hours or so, I guess, is the story, which kind of doesn't much exist.
Much.
Yeah, and it doesn't achieve much at all.
Try and explain the story.
I accidentally skipped one cutscene.
I really would.
Which is about a third of the story, so I've got no fucking idea.
Did you understand the story? Because I know.
I have absolutely no idea.
I have no clue. I have no clue what was going on.
I went back to that, that first section when we met up, like with the stone. I
Yep.
talked to the guy there and he explains, oh, you've got to beat all these bosses. That's as much story as I got.
Yeah, it was like, I know the start of it was like you were training and then some guy was like tapped you on the shoulder and like sent you off, and I was like, okay.
So what I could gather from the opening cutscene and what was kind of going on is that, so at the start you're in some kind of dojo or some shit, and you go down, one person, you're sitting there, you're doing your practices or something, and then some dude taps you on the shoulder and says like, come on, you've been chosen or something like that basically. And then you go into this room and then you put a mask on, and when you put the mask on, you go into this alternate reality world or like some kind of mystical world in your head or something like that. But all the other players, I believe, like that you see are supposed to be other people like you, presumably from other dojos and stuff, I suppose, that have also put the mask on, and you're all kind of just trying to run around in that place until you either just run around there for the rest of your life, or you either beat all the masters in there and evolve to the rank of Absolver.
Story is not the selling point here, clearly.
Definitely not. Definitely not. It is a game where there's a lot of exploration. I think the environments were really cool.
Yep.
I really liked the range of environments that I played through in my several hours of playtime. But yeah, I think other than there being enemies around, the world was a bit devoid as well for me. It's still, there were people to fight, but at the same time I felt empty.
That was kind of it. There was just people to fight. There wasn't like any world building or anything. Like maybe some collectibles or something. Maybe.
Yeah, here's a random piece of paper. Read it. Oh, look, this person died doing this. And you're like, oh,
Just
okay, cool.
Explains stuff. Because
Even
there
if,
didn't seem to be enough explaining of stuff.
no,
it
even
felt.
if it's for a person like me, that half the time I get to the point in the game where I'll stop reading the stuff I pick up unless I find it really interesting.
Yeah.
It's still, even though I'm not reading it when I'm picking it up, the world still feels lived in. It still feels like somebody's leaving this stuff behind, which is very much not the case for Absolver.
Although to be fair, maybe in this world they just can't write. Because they're all fighting.
But I think you're making excuses here for them, you know?
No, I'm just...
Just because they could punch people doesn't mean that they can't. You're selling them short here, Ash.
So what you can do in co-op is you can run around, do the mini bosses, which are the marked ones. You can fight them in co-op, and you can run around and just fight other people in co-op and stuff like that. However, was it three or four bosses?
I think it's three, yeah.
1, 2, 3. The three bosses the main bosses, which I'll have cutscenes and stuff like that, you cannot do in co-op, and you have to there's like a glowy thing, and then you have to press X or whatever the button is on PC if you're playing on PC, and then you enter tab. I don't know. You enter this different world where you get kicked out of your co-op shared universe stuff, and you have to fight the bosses all one-on-one. So I mean, you can co-op and get it easier through the marked one battles, I guess, but when it comes down to the three main bosses, you have to do them on your own marks and your skills, I suppose.
Yeah.
I first played my first playthrough of the opening of this game, I played on mouse and keyboard. And then when we restarted on Stream, Ash, I plugged in a PlayStation controller because it's PlayStation controller compatible because we were playing on PC. And I honestly thought the keyboard and mouse worked a little bit better in my personal opinion. Just because the method in which you change stances on the controller, you hold right trigger and then you have to move the right analog stick into a position, into a corner to change.
It's a little finicky.
It's a little finicky at times because when you're in the middle of a fight and you're trying to find the bottom left-hand corner or the sweet spot where it's going to change. Whereas on PC, it's one button. It's either Q, E, Z, or C, which is already around the fingers that you're going to be having on the movement controls anyway.
Yeah.
So I felt on the keyboard it actually was easier to switch between and to link up combos and everything.
Yeah, because when you do your combos, you also change your stance. You can change your stance depending on which attacks you pick.
And once you've beaten the last boss at the top of the tower, you can then join a school. And
the end game.
And it's the end game pretty fucking early. But you join a school, which is the end game. And then you've sort of got your character levels. And I hit level 30 earlier this morning. And then you've got your school world rank something, which
Yep.
at the moment, as far as I can tell, you can only do PvP. You can only level up your school stuff PvP, which is where it breaks it for me. I did manage to win 2 fights this morning, and I think you can progress through the school stuff by losing. It still
Get
counts.
a little bit of XP or something like
Yeah,
that.
you get a little bit of XP. Like, it seems that, like, say there's a level, you're level 1 and there's 5 dots for you to get to level 2. And I think you get 1 dot for just participating in the fight.
A win will get you like 3 or something.
Well, a win gets you a 2nd dot, so you get like a fight and a win, participate in a win. And then I got a 3rd one that was performance, which I don't
Like for doing good moves
I guess,
or something like that?
I guess for not just hammering square, or maybe for not dying as many times or something. Like I beat him 3-1. Could have gotten me that point, but it really didn't tell me.
So your problem with the PvP, does it come down to the major problem for me for the game, which is the online?
After this morning, it doesn't. So the online
really?
was absolutely abysmal when we picked it up on Tuesday, and characters are just rubber banding all
Oh my
around
God.
the world.
The ping must have been at least 500. I don't think I've had such a bad experience playing online since I played like some MOBA back before Australia got its own service for like League of Legends or some nerdy shit like that. But oh my God, it was nearly unplayable.
Sadly, when we streamed, the servers were terrible and we were rubber banding everywhere. And you would go to run onto a bridge, and it would like slingshot you off the bridge.
But the other thing was, when you respawned, you would get kicked from the world that we were in together.
Like the same instance,
seemed like?
yeah. And you'd have to wait for them to pick you up to be able to stay in that instance, or you'd get shifted out. And then I tried it again. Tom, our colleague, said that he had also had these issues, but apparently there was a new update. I tried it then, and it was still kind of bad for me. I don't know if it was just because we are, Australia, and we're the last.
Yeah, I don't know if there was any
sorted.
Oceania servers.
Yeah, in the Oceanias.
Yeah, no Oceania servers.
I think they've got Oceania servers up now. They said they were happening before the weekend. That I did read, and yeah, I managed to see a bunch of people with NZ and AU in their username because
Which is good.
Some
but
people do that, and we can't change our PSN names.
it's good that they've got that, but I would say they kind of fucked up pretty bad by not having them this day one, because the amount of people I saw on Twitter and other forums and stuff that like people were reporting like, don't get this game in Australia, it's basically unplayable, and they're like, oh, that's a bummer, I was going to get it, but I guess I'll get this other game this week now instead. It's like a lot of people were looking forward to this, but I mean, if you look, there was on the Absolver Reddit that first couple days, there were video after video of people being like, this is what it looks like to play this game in Australia, this is what it looks like to play this game in Australia, and they were all just videos of what we had experienced, which was abysmal.
Yeah,
A mess.
It was a hot mess, but that's why I wanted to. I played last night. I played every night, and then again this morning. And the online is fixed. It is good. I played online. I had a good experience both in the online shared world, which was fucking up for us, and also in the PvP. As I say, like I managed to win 2 fights, which I wouldn't have done had the servers been up to fuck or non-existent.
I was going to try and play some this morning. I just didn't get the time. But I'm glad to hear that, and that does make me want to play it again, because the fact remains that I felt like if they hadn't have fixed the online issues, it felt like you was playing like a quarter of the game, because it's meant to be played online. It's very obviously meant to be played in the shared universe stuff, and if you were playing the game offline, it just feels empty.
No, none at all. So that made, and I feel like if there was more players in the game, the world would feel more vibrant and more full. It was just there was a lot of empty areas that would have one person stood in them, and it was an interesting world, but it just felt dead. Which, thinking about what I think the story is about, probably is dead for a reason. But it never felt lived in the first place. A lot of these games where you're exploring an apocalyptic world, you've at least there's at least like information about the people that came before you. What did you think, Ash, especially with that world and what happened when you were playing through?
Yeah, I mean, it just felt like buildings that have been there for ages, but no, there wasn't anything that really made me think this world was interesting in any way.
Yeah.
Just seemed like generic ruins. Yeah, not much there, unfortunately.
Not much.
It's not. Clearly, they've based this game around its combat system.
Let's talk about the co-op fighting issues that we had quite often, which is that you can go into co-op with someone in the game. You can be like, asked to go into co-op, the other person accepts. It's like, cool, they're green now on my screen. You're fighting enemies. You accidentally hit them once or twice. All of a sudden, you're fighting. They're red, and you're hitting them, and they help. It's just like...
Yeah. You're being aggressive toward Viva La Dill.
Yeah.
You and Viva La Dill are now enemies. It's like, oh, we're not.
It just seems like it just makes it really, really annoying. Like, maybe there could be like, well, maybe you shouldn't be spamming like attack buttons so fast and blah, blah, like maybe you should be trying not to hit your friend. But it's just like, okay, we're in a game where you put a mask on and go to a magical world. Can we just make it that if you accidentally hit someone you're at co-op with,
It's fine.
it's fine. It doesn't do damage. It doesn't make you aggressive. Just, it's fine.
It was pretty frustrating, but I think quite fantastic that is our biggest gripe, apart from the server stuff, which I think
I have
is
one
solved.
more gripe. I have one more gripe.
You've got well, I do have another one, but yeah, like it's
my last one
relatively
was going to
small.
be bugs.
It's going to be
Which
what? Sorry?
the bugs. There is a few bugs. I had to. How many times did I have to quit out of the game and restart when we played?
I think 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, 2 or 3 times. Which is above 0, which isn't ideal. I fell through the world. I fell off the side of.
Oh, I just fell through the world.
I fell off the side of a cliff, and then I just got stuck there. If only you could see what's happened to me now. Why, game? Why does it troll me? I can't just like kill myself, can I? I'm just stuck. Oh, why?
Oh, really?
I followed you off a cliff. And there was no way for me to respawn or like anything like that, so I had to quit the whole game, come back in. I died at one stage. You tried to
I
revive me.
half revived you.
You half revived me. It reckoned I was alive, but my body was just still there in the ground, and there was no way for me to do anything. Had to restart the game. I've had random enemies just like disappear, like just like boom, like fighting them. All of a sudden they just disappear. I'm like, okay, Batman, calm the fuck down. Like,
Yeah.
okay? So there is a few bugs, things that can probably be fixed fairly easily. You'd think,
Yeah, I would-
well, maybe not easily, but can be patched.
What did you get in loot wise? My loot was. I don't know.
No, it just seemed like different clothes and equipment that slightly affected things up and down. That
Yeah.
didn't have much control over.
Yeah, I think it never seemed to, and I don't know if I didn't get late enough into the game to get that further progression of where you get the cool looking items. But what's the problem? Right? Why can't games start off with mediocrely cool looking items and build upwards to the cool stuff? Like, it's just, you start the game and it's like, you've picked up a Hesham sack, and you're like, yay. Yeah.
To be honest, I didn't care what he looked like. I just wanted the best,
I did.
most protection, and to keep as dexterous as possible.
I had to look pretty
Gotta be as
fly
fast
for
as
a
possible.
white guy wearing a mask,
I don't think you're going to be picking up in that world, so I don't think you have to worry about looking cool.
Oh, why not? There was ladies. They had masks on as well.
But they're all trying to kill you, so. Or
Maybe that was their, predatory dance of death.
I guess we'll find out in Absolver 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate it from like an appearance factor and stuff like that. But did you feel like, did you ever feel like you would equip something and feel a lot more powerful? Because I feel like the main thing you upgrade as you play is just your player skill. Like, you get better at the game.
Yeah, no, I don't at this point think that the loot has too much to do with it, or that even like I couldn't figure out a variation in the loot that you're picking up to say that I am particular character, or I'm fighting with particular school skills or particular fighting style skills, not school, sorry. And so I should be using a particular items. I couldn't figure out that relationship.
Yes. So it'll when you, depending on a lot of factors, basically depends on what gear you should be using, but it's all very, like, for the average player jumping in that's not used to look, I suppose, because they'll have rankings. It's like, this thing is good for this style of fighting, it's like got an E on this style of fighting, it's got a C on this style of fighting, blah blah blah. Then you have to know what type of fighter you are, which is dependent on your combat deck and what moves you've got in that and stuff like that. So
I didn't figure out what the A, B, C's, D's, S's were about.
Yeah. So it's like, what is my combat? So that's how the loot system works. Really, I don't feel like it makes much of a difference, but I feel like a lot of the gear you have to just pick what's right for your deck. So talking about the combat deck,
because it's got an interesting card sort of dynamic where you learn moves by sort of taking moves. You sort of slowly build up.
I was a bit
knowledge.
interested because when you first enter the game, you have to pick a style of fighting.
Yeah.
And I played through. I started the game twice as two of them. Like, I started once as like the balanced one, and another one as like the dexterous type. And I couldn't really honestly tell you the difference. I think one of the, because with the fighting mechanic of the game is, if you've played For Honor, you very much know the similar fighting style where you have to choose a stance for your character to be in, and what stance is what kind of attacks you do and what the other person is blocking. So you change stance to avoid their blocks and everything.
When you open the combat deck for the first time, which is in like a training simulator, Assassin's Creed, glowy world type thing, you can muck around with all your moves, and it is really confusing the first time you open it.
You can
really
fuck it up so bad.
Yeah.
Which I did.
It is. Yeah, I think mine's fucked. I need to reset it and just pay more attention
Yeah.
to what I'm doing. Because you can be like, they have numbers on them, and you're like, cool, so the higher number, the more attack, and then you just jam the highest attack ones into like the top bar or something like that, and then the rest are just like, and it's just all
so
fucked.
that's what I'd done, and then I realized today that every attack that you've got has a symbol with it, and that symbol relates to what fighting style it is. And in order to have the most efficient attacks, you want like the same style to go one after the other. So when you go and pick like 3 ginormous kicks that are probably from completely different styles because they've got 150 damage each, actually you're doing you're doing shit.
You're doing sweet fuck.
Yeah.
This is where it becomes really confusing because I mean the game's combat from the outset looks simple. Square, jab, light punch, whatever you call it. Triangle is your heavy attack. Circle, dodge, use the right analog stick, push it towards the enemy at the right time, you parry them. You're like, cool, that all sounds like simple fighting game, counter dodge, 2 attack buttons, I've got this. And then they're like, hold R1, use the right analog stick, you can switch between 4 fighting stances. And you go, wait, what?
Okay.
Am I supposed to be doing this mid-fight? What am I supposed to be doing? It starts switching, you're like, different move. It's basically like you have 3 moves. What the card system is there's like there's 3 slots or whatever, 4 slots if you've got a glitch in the game like I do apparently. Is that they're the moves assigned to the different combat stances. And then the game gets really confusing because you're like, well, for this enemy, you don't have to do this. This is what the game's designed as, though, is that you're supposed to be switching between stances depending on the enemy you're fighting, depending on what moves you need, depending on what stuff they need to do. One stance, square, might be a straight jab forward. Another stance, square, might be a low punch. One stance, square, might be this high fuck off kick you can do from out of nowhere. Another stance, the triangle, might be like a low ground, like sweep kick or something like that. So you basically need to know what all 4 of your stances do and memorize all the stuff like that. This is all where the fighting game aspect stuff comes in, I think. Like, I've never been good at fighting games because I hated memorizing all the buttons. Like, people spend hours and hours and hours in those training modes, like square, triangle, back circle, so blah, blah, does this move, blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's quite a lot. I mean, it's
I
good. It's a
was
really cool
kind
system.
of already doing that.
Yeah,
I was
Too much.
in the position where like somebody's blocking me too much. I'm like, okay, I know that my up and left stance triangle is just a block breaking front kick. So if
Yeah,
he's
the big
blocking
fuck
me
off
too
kick.
much,
Yep.
he's blocking me too much. I jump in that stance. I move back a little bit. He thinks he's at a safe distance. Triangle, bam.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Which
I
is what you
was
have to
kind of
do.
there. Yeah, you kind of have to learn, and it's kind of
have to learn well.
fantastic.
But it's a really, really cool system, and I think it's probably the best part. The best part of this game is the combat system.
The system is fantastic. The way that you collect new
The moves and
new
stuff
moves,
is
the way that
really
you
cool.
collect that and you unlock them, and then you can
Yep.
use them as cards in the system, I think
Yep.
is outstanding. I think it's
Yep.
actually like masterful design.
Yeah.
What I want to see that in though, and prepare your laughter, I want that in Dynasty Warriors 9. I want it like hack and slash, but instead of the shitty, not shitty, instead of the square
Yep.
that they give me, and it does whatever because it's a particular person. I want to be able to learn these new attacks, and I want to put them in the combos that I want, so that I just look cool doing the shit that I've learned.
Overall, though, I'd say with them flying out the patches and stuff, I'd suggest checking out Absolver.
If you like fighting games, and if you like online PvP, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
if you're not too fussed on either of those, then I'm a little hesitant. I've had like 10 plus hours worth of fun with it, and it has been fun. And I don't like fighting games, and I don't like online PvP.
Yeah.
And I'm fighting very hard not to go back and sit down and play it offline, just collecting moves, because
Yeah.
that's quite enjoyable. You're literally basically doing nothing apart from making sure they don't break your stamina meter.
It's hit
just
a
standing there
weird-
blocking.
It's hit a weird itch for you.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like it's going to hit
Which-
everyone, but
I think
Nonetheless.
what I should really do is go and delete it and start playing something else, because I'm not achieving anything and I'm not playing the game as they want me to, but I am playing the game and I am having a very good time.
well, as long as you're having a good time. So it's going to be a really interesting game to keep your eye on as time goes on, to see like what's added to it and stuff like that. And I feel like even if I don't play much more of it, I want to jump back in for at least one more session, check it out.
I think you
see
should-
play online without the fucking lag
Yeah.
making me zip zap across the map, which would be good. But other than that, I feel like I'm still going to keep it on my PlayStation, because if they start adding new stuff every couple of weeks or something, I might be intrigued just to jump in.
Yeah,
Check it out.
I reckon you should get in. You should go into the combat trials.
Yeah, I can
and
try that now.
Do
Yes.
do yourself a couple of PvPs, and
Yes.
don't like what I did twice earlier in the week was start a PvP, lose 3-0, quit.
Yeah.
Fuck it, that's right, I hate online PvP, why the hell am I doing this? But today I fought the same person 3 times in a row, because once you get somebody, you're stuck with them until one of the two of you doesn't want to rematch. He beat me the first time 3-0, or maybe 3-1, and then I beat him like 3-2, and then 3-1 I beat him. So yeah,
You're getting better.
I'm getting better, but
Player skill has evolved.
I need to stop.
Oh my god.
Any final thoughts, Kieran?
Look, if you are uncertain about this game, you should really absolve those uncertainties, pick up the game, and give it a chance. So you understand everything absolutely.
I'm just going to leave it there. That's going to be the end of this review discussion. Thank you for watching. Follow us. Hit that like, subscribe. Any other buttons that happen to be underneath this video, and subscribe.
Absolve your love for me at your boy Ringo and at Ashley Hobley, SHLEY, HOBLEY.